So guys, I had a great conversation in sitting here with Julie today. And Julie's got her hands raised. We got everybody up. Connie, go ahead and kick us off, Connie, since you were the first one up. You get to be the first one to share.
All right, thanks, Scott. I had the pleasure to be in a group with Jeremy and with David. Jeremy shared that he's a serial entrepreneur and he's attended like 4 of these meetings. David said that he was just new. So I shared a little bit about my experience having been with the group since late January. And all 3 of us gave the thumbs up that we feel that these 3 areas are really important, and especially the deal analysis, right? Because it helps us have that critical thinking and get other people's input. So that was the feedback from the group.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Connie. I appreciate that feedback. Brendan, we are up next.
Hey guys, first I want to apologize for not having video today, a bit of a technical challenge. So I met with Nestor and Lillian. Nestor is a first timer to the group. Lillian has been with us for a few meetings. So we spent a bit of time kind of getting to know Nestor and his background. He's been in real estate for about 2 decades. Started buying his own properties in 2010, and he's come to us through using Royal Legal for doing some company formation work and trying to get things more solid from a protection standpoint and operation standpoint. We all see the value in building intentional connections and being able to leverage the experience and knowledge of other people in the group, and be inspired by others, who, it's not necessarily a linear scale from, start to end. Everyone's path is going to be a bit different, but, so it's not that some of us are ahead and some are behind. There's so many paths, and all of us, are behind others in some aspects and ahead of others in others. So I think we all have something to contribute and something to learn from a group like this. Also looking at connections to get access to each other's networks, and for example, finding how we get access to capital, and maybe doing some business with lenders that we work with, or even each other. For education and deal analysis, that also certainly resonates. I talked a little bit about learning from each other, learning from the experience of each other, but having formalized topics to really dig into with an expert in the field, I think brings a lot of benefit, also because it focuses the meeting and focuses where we're going into a particular area, rather than it being kind of all over the place and then coalesce into something at a shallow level. So we certainly see value in that. For elite execution, I'd say that we had a favorable impression of that, but we didn't get the time to really execute on our task of analyzing all 3 of these topics. We ran out of time about the time we were getting to execution.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Brendan, for reporting that back. I wanted to say welcome to David and Nestor and Lillian for being new to the group. You guys are very welcome. It's our pleasure to be able to invite you in Please feel free to reach out to the other group members. If you're new here, the best thing that you can do is to reach out to the other group members in like the direct message, and then just start up those conversations and start building that network. Everybody here is super friendly. They want to connect. That's why they're coming. So they want you to reach out to them to be able to do that. So thank you for coming, and encourage you to reach out. What I heard from Brendan from your reporting back is that there's also some value that comes to us. It's just the inspiration that we get. I can a little bit from my perspective into it. I find inspiration at two different levels, and value that I get at two different levels. I get inspired by guys that are like Chris, that are in my life, that have been in the game at like really large scales, right? And I have a number of people in my life that are like Chris, and they're inspiring they're like, man, how do you get from, 10 to 200? Like, what does that look like? And I don't know actually the full portfolio of Chris's assets here, right? But that's the thinking, that's the place that these kinds of people embody in my life. And it's inspirational to say that, hey, I can do it. They're not that good looking or that smart. I can probably do it too. I'm just kidding, Chris. No, you are. But then there's also a place that I get inspired by, which is at the people that are new. And with the people that are new, that are taking the first steps into doing something that's new in their life, that's scary, that's pushing their boundaries. And I love to go and connect with those people and share with them from the road that I've walked and how that they can be successful. One, because I want them to have the peace and the security in their lives that I currently experience as a gift to them as just a fellow human being that's on the path that I'm on. But there's also something selfish in it for me in mentoring down, because in mentoring down, so to speak, what I also get to experience is the feeling of what it is like to go to the next level. And in counseling somebody else to go to the next level is actually where I get to reteach myself those same lessons. Because at every level of the game, there is fear to go to the next level. And so I would encourage us to say that mentorship goes up and down, and that if we do both, that's how we can get the maximum benefit of relating to other people's in our lives. And I love so much, Brendan, that in your share that you guys had keyed in on the importance of these types of mentorship. So thank you so much. Julie, I'd love to hear from you next.
Okay, I actually spent some time with Scott, and we discussed the intentional connection, and I really like to see each member in this group to give us a presentation of who they are, what they are interested in, and what they can offer, or present a deal so that because devils are in the details. From the details of seeing deals they're doing, we can learn their strengths, and we can learn what they can offer. Because as a group, a lot of times there are deals I see, I couldn't handle it myself, but because of the weekly communication, I know maybe Chris can do it. Or maybe Robert can do it because they're in a different market than me, or maybe they're interested. So just to understand each other, and then knowing that the resource is there, who I can go to when there are deals I couldn't do it myself. I think it's just a synergy in this group. And then we talked about the elite execution and education deal analysis. In my mind, the education and the deal analysis is like weekly workout, weekly practice. And then because of the practice you're doing, you're growing as an investor. And then one day when the deal shows up, you know exactly how to execute. So the execution is like the Olympic game. The game is on. However, if you don't exercise, you don't practice daily, weekly, you can't win in the Olympics. So I think those two things goes hand in hand together. So I do love the ideas, and I think we should figure out a game plan.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Julie. I heard a couple of things from your share that I think are absolutely beautiful and that I just love to underline. One thing that I heard from you, and I was actually, is about like being able to know who is everybody that is on this call. Who are the people that are here? How can I know who to reach out to? Because maybe I just get to talk to the people that I met in my little breakout room. How can I find out who else is on this call that I might want to connect with? Something that I saw Nestor actually do, guys, if you guys scroll up into your chat, Nestor gave a greeting into the chat this morning when he came in. He introduced himself as a first-time group member, where he was from, that he's into multifamily housing, that he has an active real estate license, and he's looking for commercial lenders contacts. And he provided his contact information there too, in case anybody wanted to reach out. What I love about that is it's just a great, I just saw it as like a, wow, what a great way to be able to just remind everybody of like, here's, who I am, where I am, here's the types of assets I'm about, and here's my ask and that of what it is that I need in case anybody knows. Because I think the intention here is that like perhaps we're able to have a place here in the chat coming in each morning if we want to, where we can simply share that information and solicit both the help as well as to share a bit about ourselves. So that way we can allow other people know that they could reach out to us, that we would be the right people to reach out to if they had some issue. Another thing, Julie, I heard from you was about the intentional connection, like through the work and the desire to say, hey, perhaps there's an opportunity here for us as a community of investors, as an investment community, for the group members to be able to, kind of like lay it out there a bit, right? Here's a deal. Here's a deal. It might not even be like the best deal you're looking at, right? It could just be a deal, but I'd like to be able to show and work with you guys about like, how do I think through this deal? How do I do the analysis like here together? What I love about that is that one, it's very genuine, right? Number two, it takes some risk because now you're talking in front of a group about like, here's what I do. And guess what? The people that take the risks are the ones that get the feedback that help them get to the higher level. So pushing into the fear is the fastest route to improving their own success. And so they can get that reward for doing that. And number three, it's connecting us through doing the work together. It's forming that genuine connection of saying, hey, it's not just like a good times, grab a cup of coffee. I can actually bond with you through the work itself. And if you're a workaholic kind of guy that just loves working like me, that's the most beautiful thing I could hear, because I was like, man, not only do I get to connect with Robert or connect with Julie, I also get to play with them. And like, how do we think through this idea together? So it's also socially rewarding just as much as it is intellectually rewarding to connect with each other like that. And we might want to do that. And I love the idea of like a weekly, like, here's our weekly practice. So the number one thing that we've talked about from time to time, if you've ever listened to me talk, is that great investors are analyzing deals. Great investors are analyzing deals. They're always analyzing deals. If you want to find out how good of an investor somebody is, you can actually just ask them, how many deals are you analyzing each week? And you'll find that the guys that are analyzing more deals are doing more deals, and they're making more money, and they're making more money more consistently as well. So there's something in here that also resonates with me, what you said, Julie, about saying, hey, this is a minimum. This is our like minimum weekly practice to keep ourselves engaged in doing deals when we're like, I don't really want to do anything this week. Well, cool. I'll just jump into the group and I'll analyze a deal with everybody. I don't have to carry it all on my own. The group can be part of my support system of me learning more about how to analyzing deals and making sure that my mind stays in the game for the future that it is that I want to create. So beautiful, Julie. Thank you so much. Robert, my man, how are we doing? I'd love to hear from you next.
Great, thanks. So we had kind of three seasoned folks that have been around for a while, Alex, Maria, and myself. And then we welcomed a new member, Jeff Seal. And
welcome, Jeff.
Got to find out a little bit about where he's based and what he's working on. He expressed some concern that maybe he was new on his real estate journey, and I assured him that there are folks at every phase of that journey ourselves here in this group. So it was a great conversation. We touched based on the 3 points. we are unified in support of the three. The intentional connection, I think some of us have received some real benefit from taking advantage of the connections that we have here on the call, and even extending that further in other meetings. The elite execution, we've learned about how to apply the principles discussed in the planner and apply some of the information that we have been educated on that's been impactful. And then the education, this was the reason that I think that that we joined, that we started meeting. And it's been fantastic. I don't know that we have dug deeply into the deal analysis yet, but I think that is a fantastic extension to this group's objective. So
Beautiful. Well, thanks,
We love
Robert.
You bet.
I love that, and welcome to the newcomers, of course. And you're in the right place. If you want to get financially free, this is the group to do it. These are the people that are about it. Not only do they talk about it, but they live it, and they show up every single week in the commitment to themselves and to each other to do it. So thank you guys for that feedback. I'm very excited as I'm hearing a common theme here, which is, holy smokes, do we want to start doing deal analysis? Is anybody else grabbing that too off of it? That's awesome. Thanks, Robert. Chris, my man, how we doing?
I am good. I am good.
Before we kick off here, Chris, I got to tell you that I think Robert's coming for the award of best beard. I think he's coming for the belt.
Man, I just shaved this morning too. I cut it down to a 3, and it was like bigger, but that's okay.
Man.
It's all right.
It's looking great, bro.
It's okay.
Thank
you. And I don't care what anybody else says, Scott. You're a beautiful person. You're a beautiful person. So I was with Cheryl, Katie, and Hazel. Hazel didn't come up, but Cheryl and Katie had some things to talk about. And to be honest, none of us had ever talked before, so it was a lot about just getting to know each other, finding out what we're doing. So some of what I'm going to talk about is specifically about a few of your points. But some of it was just about some of what I noticed too. And part of it is that, when somebody says that they're kind of a newbie or gives that kind of a perception, and yet when I ask them questions and they're telling me that the multiple deals they've done, I'm like, it's a warm place in my heart when I see that. And it's just, you're a real estate professional. I mean, if you've done multiple deals and they've gone all different ways, you're doing great. In terms of a lead execution, there was one question that, there's so many things. It's like I wanted to do follow-up, but we just didn't have enough time with the people on here. But when it came to like a lead execution, I think it was Cheryl who had mentioned sometimes that can be difficult when every deal is unique and you're working with so many different professionals. My answer to that would be, is that good for you for working with a number of different professionals. The early execution is making sure that you follow up, that they do what they're supposed to do. I mean, that's a big part of it. And in terms of, education and deal analysis, Katie mentioned kind of a lot about, really more about her risk tolerance than anything else. And that she's so impressed with other people who have a higher degree of risk tolerance and ability to move forward on deals. And yet she's talking about these multiple deals that she's done. So I'm like, I'm confused. You're already a professional. You're doing a great job. Clearly, you've already analyzed deals and you know what you're doing. But a little more of the feedback is, I analyze so many deals, guys. And the vast majority of deals, either I don't move forward with or I don't get because they don't accept my offer. The vast majority. And a matter of fact, you really, really, really got to get used to hearing no. And if that affects you, then you got to do some exercises to get yourself used to it. Because if you're hearing yeses too often, your offer is too high. Excuse me, your offer is too high. One of my favorite things to hear is a no on a deal where, it could be months later. My favorite deal, I got a big fat no. I mean, not even a no, but basically an FU, because my deal was insulting to them. And yet a few months later, they call me back and said, are you still interested? Now, when somebody says FU and they call you back a few months later, ask if you're still interested, do you still say yes at the same offer price? No, your offer goes down. Because obviously if they're calling you back after telling you to go F yourself, they don't have anybody else and they filed a escrow a few times. So I guess what I'm saying is analyze tons and tons of deals. Don't be afraid of hearing the no. And the last point I just want to make is sometimes you just got to jump in with the limited amount of knowledge that you have and just make the best possible educated guess, because you could continue doing less and spend more and more money on education or other things where you could have just lost your money on a deal and learned so much. So don't be afraid to move on to that next deal. The real test of an entrepreneur is how you move on with adversity. And I can tell you about all the great deals that I had, but I'm going to tell you, I've lost a lot of money on deals that have gone sideways or bad too. It's just, I'm right more times than not. And I feel blessed about that. But anybody who tells you they haven't lost money on a deal either hasn't done a lot of deals or is lying to you or is new, one or the other.
Awesome, Chris. Yeah, well, thanks for what I'm hearing from you is like really underscoring about like a couple of things, right, that might be in service to people. One would be around saying, well, how do we analyze deals to have confidence that I'm analyzing deals in the right way to actually know what risks I'm really taking, right? Like to really have a good assessment of those risks. And that perhaps there's another piece to it too, which is an execution. Maybe execution has like two different components. It's one that I heard from you is, how many deals am I actually analyzing this week? And how many of the ones I'm analyzing should I be making offers on? And of the offers I'm making, how many of those should be looking to get accepted or competitive? And knowing what those benchmarks are might tell us a lot about what does it take to get into a new property. I might need to analyze 10 deals to find 2 that make sense to make offers on, and only one of them is going to get accepted. And I say, great. Then if I want to get into a new deal, elite execution might look like being able to set the right goals to say, great, I need to be looking at 25 deals this month to be able to hit my goals of what they are. So now we would know, here's exactly what I need to do if following the general trends that we know from the wisdom of people that have walked the path before to be able to get into the property I need to. And from that point, I have the support of like the community to help me understand, is this wise? Have I done the analysis correctly? Am I being reckless here? Or do I just need to push through my uncomfortability and the fear of actually taking action into something that's not, that might be beyond like in my comfort zone? Those are some of the things I was picking up for you. Does that resonate?
It does. Can I do one follow-up?
Yeah.
Because I just love the way you do a synopsis, and it reminds me of other things and other tangents. And I think one thing that is also extremely important is it's not, I mean, a big part of it is analyzing multiple deals, but what's more important is that you're analyzing the right deals. And what do I mean by that? Is that know and get to know your farm as much as possible. If you haven't read the book, it sounds so corny, but it's Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And it's, it's an ancient Chinese philosopher, militarist, and it corresponds to business in so many ways. It's required reading at just any military institution in B school and all that. And one of the big things is, if you know your enemy and you know yourself, you don't need to know the result of 1,000 battles. And know your farm. I mean, when that guy told me to F myself, I already knew that he fell out of escrow a couple of times. And he just had to do that a couple more times because the area he was trying to sell in had no property management. He was going nowhere. All he was getting was wholesalers that were saying yes, yes, yes. And then when it come to the table, would not be able to get an end buyer. And I had a partner who knew the area, was born in it, bought his first house when he was 18, knew block by block where to invest and where not to. And so if you really know your farm and you really have back knowledge, which takes time, then you know where to target your analysis and where to target your deal flow. And you're able to move much, much quicker. If you know that that block is a good block and it's undervalued, and it's right next to the really good one, then you know that you could jump on it much quicker and you're more confident about it too.
I love that. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, that's the value of the wisdom of community, right? Of knowing your people. I want to jump into Jason here, guys, but I want to also remind everybody in the chat while we're waiting and we're hearing here from Jason is to go ahead and register for the virtual summit. That's November 17th through 19th. We have amazing speakers and content. A lot of people of the professionals inside of Royal Legal Solutions are going to be presenting. It's going to give you a really deep behind the curtains look at a lot of our best thinking that we've had there. And it's going to be very concentrated, high paced, and you're going to have some surprise like lunch lectures as well too, that only the attendees of will be able to join in on about actually income producing opportunities and partnering with Royal Legal Solutions and how you can do that. And that's just right there in the chat for the royallegalsolutions.com/virtual. Jason, go ahead and share with us, my man. What did you learn and what was the wisdom of your group?
Hey Scott, thanks for hosting this. So I spoke with Christine, Ravi, and Paul. A couple of us have a realtor license in different states. And after our introduction, it became clear that we are at different stages in our investment career. Some of us haven't invested. Some of us have very substantial number of doors under their belt. And we did not touch on the 3 points as much as we like. But regarding intentional connection, what we talked about is some of us are new to the group, and each of us might have slightly different agenda, if you will, things that we want to learn and learn from the group. So we thought it would be helpful to have like focus group for different people with different agenda. For example, we might have a small group for those who want to learn more about entity structuring. There might be a different group for those that will want to analyze deals. So that's kind of what we touched on in a very limited time. But I hope that helps.
Excellent. Yeah, so I'd love to share. Thank you for sharing that, Jason. One of the things I would love to, I'm happy to tell everybody about is that I've undertaken a very substantial project with Liz and a few other members of our team to be able to build the coursework of the hundreds of hours of videos, the 11 ebooks we have, the 800 articles, the explanations, and all of the education components that we have into a course and multiple courses that we're actually building in Kajabi. So in the future, what we'll be able to do, Jason, is when people say like, hey, I actually want to learn more about like X particular topic of what it would be, we'll be able to direct them directly into the course where all of our best content around that area is located. And then from there, they'll be able to schedule one-on-one appointments at no cost to be able to discuss more about that topic if they want to into it. I'd also say too, is that like coming into the virtual summit that we have is one of the best ways to get the detailed education that everybody might be looking for. Those are going to be hosted live by the members of the professional team. And it's through that, through those mechanisms that we're looking to increase our ability to connection. But as we move forward, I would love to be able to learn more about how we can help people get to the right content and get to the right education, because we've taught and I've taught these things hundreds of times. So the education itself is super dialed in on what it would be. And so maybe there's ways that we can further leverage beyond the courses that we're building in Kajabi to help everybody get the education that they're looking for. But I think Liz actually just pushed the Kajabi course. We're still continuing to build it out, but you guys get the sneak peek into it right now if you want to. That's going to have all of our best asset protection information of all the different strategies we do, who they're appropriate for, the ebooks, the videos, the articles, et cetera, right there. Otherwise, attend the virtual summit and that'll be awesome. But yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Jason, for sharing. And welcome, guys. I don't think I've ever met you before, so it's a pleasure to see you. Okay, everyone, we are just about here at time for this week. Thank you so much for your time and attention and spending this time here together in support of yourself and support of each other as we look to be able to move into this better, deeper phase of building the community. I'm so humbled to be able to have this opportunity to chair the meeting for you. I'm always open to feedback about how I could do my job better or how I can better serve you. So if those things come up, please always know that it's an open line of communication, and I will never hear it as a judgment and criticism. I will always hear it in the place of your desire to help support me and better serving the community, which is my true intention. Between this week and next week, I would like to, I'd like to suggest that we think about what can that be like in terms of the deal analysis. Where do we want to start? Where do we want to start this concept of how are we going to get into analyzing deals together? How have we seen other groups do this, what we're seeking out to do effectively? Is there a method in which people have already figured out the valuable way that communities can get together to analyze deals? What are the responsibilities of the community members in terms of bringing deals to the table to analyze, putting themselves out there to analyze those deals? What are the responsibilities that I would have or that Royal Legal Solutions would have in terms of being able to facilitate that process? And what types of assets do we want to start with? Where do we see in the coming future of where there might be opportunity that we would want to say, hey, it's in these areas, maybe these 1 to 2 areas that we should really focus our attention, because in the upcoming economic cycle, this is where it might be. Whether that'll be like single family homes, or that could be doing things like buying properties subject to existing mortgages. Could be apartment complexes. It could be many different things, but perhaps as a community, we would know as a consensus of, hey, this is where we believe to best focus the time, and where do we have the wisdom in the community to be able to generate it? Because what we will create together will need to come from this community. It must be an organic experience. It must come from us and be built by us for it to be in best of service to us. So I offer you that ideas and that suggestion of things to think about between this week and next week. So when we come together, we can share with each other about what's come up for us, what appears true for us. And then together as a community, we can come to a consensus of how do we want to move forward, and what those responsibilities will be for myself and Royal Legal, for yourselves. What ways have we seen in best practices that other communities have done what we're endeavoring to do? And what asset classes or what types of deals do we really want to focus on to be able to take advantage of the opportunities, because there's going to be massive opportunities in this upcoming economic cycle. And if it doesn't make you smile, it should, because it's going to be amazing of what's going to be out there. But we got to maybe we can figure that out together and think on that together of, well, where will that be? Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic week. If anything comes up, please reach out on Discord as our place to be able to connect with each other in between meetings, or to have any comments, suggestions. It's overseen by our professional staff. So if you're somebody that's curious about asset protection, you're curious about tax, you're curious about insurance, you're curious about estate planning, you're curious about anything else that you've learned here in this meeting or any other in the meeting recordings, go into the Discord channel, post those questions and comments there. Either the community members or the professional staff will reach out to be able to provide you an answer to those questions and help you in between our meetings. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic week and a wonderful day and are living the life of your dreams.